Good day. Welcome to the Great White North. Are you tired of architecture photos with poor posture or landscape photos with slanty forests? Or what about basalt columns that are a bit soggy? This is Laowa's 17mm f4 tilt shift lens, and it is the solution to all of those problems. And it is an amazing lens. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why it's amazing and why you might hate it just a little bit. A little over 10 years ago, I captured a photo that I thought was good, but I knew it could be better. Now, before I show you the photo, I'm going to introduce you to the subject of said photo, and for that we have to travel back to 1936 when a company by the name of British Pacific Properties Limited purchases 4,000 acres of property in what today is West Vancouver. Problem is, access to this property is rather limited. It's reliant on a ferry crossing or a bridge over the harbor's second narrows, and that bridge is repeatedly struck and damaged by ships. So British Pacific Property Limited, they say, we need a better bridge. We need something closer. And so they take things into their own hands and they say, hold my beer, and they build their own bridge. Now, the thing is, they probably were holding a beer or two at the time, as British Pacific Properties Limited was a syndicate of the Guinness family, the same Guinness family of Irish beer fame. So construction begins in March of 1937, and 1 year, 8 months later, in November of 1938, construction is complete on Vancouver's very own green Golden Gate Bridge, the Lions Gate Bridge. I'm driving across it right now. It cost $5 million to build and had a toll of 25 cents. This bridge spans 437 meters across. It provides 61 meters of clearance for ships below, and each tower is about 111 meters in height. Now, the province of British Columbia bought the bridge from the Guinness family in 1955. But Guinness wasn't done with it yet. In a few years after that, in 1986, they gifted some decorative lights to the city of Vancouver to be strung across the bridge. This instantly transformed the bridge into a very iconic landmark for the city, and it is a very interesting subject to photograph. Your history lesson is done, and this is the photo that I captured more than 10 years ago back in 2014. As I said, I do like this photo. I think it has some great color. There's some warmth on the horizon. The moon is nice to have. There's some starbursts on the bridge lights. That's always fun. The only thing that I could improve is the fact that the bridge appears to be collapsing on itself. The two towers are falling inwards. So when Laowa reached out to me and said they had a 17mm tilt shift lens and asked if I was interested in trying it, I immediately thought of that composition from 2014 and capturing it again with a corrected perspective, which is exactly what I did. Unfortunately, in the 11 years that have passed, the north end of the Lions Gate Bridge has changed quite a bit. The geography of that area is quite constricted, which is why the wide focal length is appealing for this composition. It's a tidal flat, so at high tide, there's very, very little land to work with. And in those 11 years, there's now a very sizable unhoused encampment, lots of people down there. If you're in Vancouver, I really strongly urge you not to visit the north end of the Lions Gate Bridge. Cole's notes, in capturing this latest version, I had to barter to ensure safe passage to the shoreline and to ensure my vehicle remained unharmed while I was shooting. Nevertheless, it was very much worth the effort. This photo is fantastic. I very much like how the towers of the bridge are standing proud, strong, and upright. The only nitpick, there's got to be a nitpick, is this photo was captured in October. The sun set at about 6 p.m. Blue hour was like blue minute, whereas the 2014 version was captured August 20th at about 9:30, and the sun set at 8:30 back then, so blue hour was like blue midnight basically. So there's not quite as much color in this newer version, and that's simply because how much light was in the sky. Otherwise though, the perspective control that this lens provides for this composition really does make it a very powerful photo, especially when you have them side by side and you realize how goofy the older one looks. There are already a few manufacturers who make a 17mm f4 tilt shift lens, but this one from Laowa is special. Firstly, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Canon's EF version, I think, is like 26 or 2,700 Canadian dollars. That is definitely an arm and a leg. Second is this lens is offered in a number of modern mirrorless mounts. You don't have to use an adapter. Again, looking at Canon's very old now EF offering. And finally, and this is a big one for me personally, this has a 86mm filter thread at the front, and that allows you to use a regular circular 86mm filter if you so choose to. Or it also allows you to use a 100mm square filter drop-in system a little easier than most other 17mm tilt shift lenses, because the front element is not overly convex. It doesn't protrude past that front filter thread. That is a huge win for me. It allows a lot more creativity if you're shooting landscapes. Slapping, a 10-stop big stopper on the front of this is pretty darn easy. You don't need an adapter like you would with the 17mm from Canon. Build quality. Build quality of this lens is fantastic. It is on par, I say this with a lot of the Laowa lenses, but it's on par with every other Laowa lens that I have used. The focus ring, very smooth. The iris/aperture ring, also very smooth. It's semi-declicked if you really want to move that while you're capturing video. The release and tightening knobs for the tilt and shift are very easy to release and tighten, and they actually instill a lot of confidence. If you tighten it down far enough, you really know that it's not going to become loose in a bag while you're traveling. The tilt and shift movement is also very smooth. You really can't avoid it, but when you release the shift, it will fall. Like, there's really no way to stop that. I've never found a tilt shift lens that prevents gravity from taking hold there. Image quality is fantastic, corner to corner, all the way from f4 up to f22. There is a bit of diffraction past, what is it? You got f16 there, I guess. You start to see a bit of softness. That's inevitable. It's physics. There is a bit of vignetting. When you shift up and shift down, you do see a bit of darkness introduced to the top quarter of the frame, and that's just because you're reaching the edge of the image circle. It is pretty easy to resolve in post, as you can see with this example. A little gradient filter just boosts that exposure pretty easily. Now, this is a pre-production lens, so I don't have a huge list of specifications. So what I'm going to share with you is based on what I have discovered and what I think, so I could be wrong. This has 14 aperture blades for some very fantastically circular bokeh. It weighs about 958 grams. That is with the tripod collar, foot, front lens cap, and rear cap all attached. So, take those off, you shave a few grams down. It has a minimum focusing distance of 25 centimeters, which is terrific. It allows for some great creative shots in just like very small subjects. I'm not going to say macro. The shift up and down, you can go, I think it's 12 millimeters in every direction. So 12 millimeters up, 12 millimeters down, or left to right if you orient the lens in the other direction. And the tilt, you can tilt it 10 degrees either way. Again, doesn't matter how you're oriented, 10 degrees one way, 10 degrees the other. I mentioned off the top that you would come to hate this lens just a little, and admittedly that was completely clickbait. The only reason you would hate this lens is because it very quickly makes you realize how utterly rubbish your other wide-angle lenses are when it comes to maintaining perspective. Now, with any new lens, the question that is very obvious is, who is this lens for? And I don't think the answer is quite as niche as you might expect. Yes, this is a fantastic lens for anyone interested in architecture or real estate photography where you're photographing buildings. I also think it is a great choice for those who shoot landscape or nature. The ability to creatively control the perspective and put the depth of field exactly where you want it makes this a very attractive lens. With that, I would like to thank you for watching. If you have a question or a comment, put it down below. If you have liked this video, hit like. Thanks again, and I will see you next time. And good night. It's late.